need to play it by ear, take whatever somebody has said and make something of it, and I don't always get time to be the preacher and get it all in line, you know. And this happened for me a lot, last night. As you can see, everybody was busy here after the Seder was over. And for the moment, I want to just stop and say thank you to the other people here. I don't know who you all are that brought flowers also. I'm responsible for the lilies and all the paper that you see. Some other people here brought the other lovely flowers, so thank you all very much for that. Yes, thank you. Anyway, it was quite late when we left here last night. I think Sally was the last person here with me and a few other people, and I was so glad to go home. And I was going to have supper and do all that and do all the other things. Let me see, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. And in my mind, I crossed up everything I'd done. And I said to my husband, just before we were going to bed, I really feel good. I have crossed everything off. And he said, didn't you have a talk tomorrow morning? And he trusts me. And I said, oh, I've got it all in here. Which doesn't always work, you know. But I felt good about it still, because I had all of these things to share with you, and the reason I had wanted to share them in the first place. And it was borne out for me last thing this morning as I walked out of here to go home and get changed to come back here. There was a coat on the rack in there. Now I had lost a coat, my favorite coat, my velvet-lined coat, like 9 months ago. And I'm going around thinking, now let me see, I have to turn the light off, I have to do this, I have to do that. And there was one coat hanging on the rack in there. And I thought, oh dear, somebody left their coat behind at the Seder. Looks a lot like my old coat. It does. Been here for 9 months. And I said to Colin when I got home, you know, all that stuff about God rewarding us and punishing us, and I never believed it was true. I changed my mind. That was my favorite coat. Not only was it velvet lined, it was satin lined as well. You could turn it both ways. How often do you get the chance to get that one back? So I just knew this morning that no matter what came into my head, it was going to be exactly what I needed. And one of the things that I had written for the newspaper was the idea that this morning was going to be about fun. All the time growing up in the semi-Catholic, semi-Orthodox English church, I had thought of Easter as a very sad. I didn't like Easter. Some people thought it was wonderful, Easter eggs, you know. I didn't like wearing crosses. All my relatives wanted to give me a cross to wear. And I consider that, you know, a thing of torture. I didn't want to hang a cross around my neck. So I never did much with it growing up except to please the children, our children, so that they could have their Easter eggs and things. But I had said in the newspaper, and sometimes I'm hung by my tongue, we're going to have some fun this time. And, you know, at the moment my husband said, don't you have a talk in the morning? I thought, oh, God. You know, where's the fun going to come from this morning? But I had the fun for weeks beforehand. Some of you were here maybe, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 6 months ago. I talked about buying seeds to make something for Easter. And being told that the sweet peas that I had purchased for growing took over 30 days to germinate. And halfway going home, I realized I didn't have 30 days left. So my husband said, well, you're a practitioner, treat. Yes. Which I did. And 7 days later, those little suckers were all up there. Yes. And then I said to my husband, they're going to grow for another 40, 50 days. What am I going to do with them all? So he said, well, we could plant them and you could start over again. Which we had to do. I can't stand to throw stuff like that away. So we're out there planting all these little things, you know, that are coming up so happy. You know what you'd have to do with them, don't you, once they grow up happy? You have to start twining them in the fences and things so that they can grow up. So I went out and I bought some more seeds. And okay, I've still got time. Well, they're here. They're here. The thing of it is, in thinking about how all this happens, all these things just happen, is that I began to realize there's no such thing as just happening. There is the result of your constant trains of thought. Okay? Now, I promise you I didn't think about sweet peas for 6 weeks. But the point is, there is always life. And where there is life, there is always change. And there is always growth. There is always activity. But it is done unto you as you believe. You have to keep on believing in the goodness of everything, the goodness of every person, and all the things that you have always wanted to do. And maybe you're a person of intent, but the intention never turns into action. And I have felt like that many, many times over the years, that I never got the act done. And in thinking of what I was going to do with stuff, I thought of how those things don't always go right. And what do we do with that when it's not gone right? What do we do with the things we think we did wrong? It's not enough that it just didn't go right. It's that we did do something wrong. It has to be our fault. And that's just not true. So I decided I needed to prove that something wonderful can come from something that really you thought was going to go wrong. And so I went to a plant place, and I said, I want a lily. I need a lily for Easter Sunday, and I need it to be a calla lily. Not just one of the other beautiful lilies, but a calla lily. And the young man who was helping me said, he said, I think we've got something like that out in the yard. And it was growing under a tree, okay, wasn't very pretty. And I said, well, do you think you can do something to it by Easter? And he said, well, I don't know, I'll see what I can do. And it still isn't very pretty, but it does have the promised bloom. It's there, can you see that? That is going to be a beautiful lily one day. And so I said, well, all right, then I'll take it, you know, if that's all you've got. And I want to tell you, I like to do this, just a little bit of an aside. That little place where they do all the, what do you call a plant?
Nursery.
Nursery. That little nursery is right near where Sally and Jennifer live. There's a little parade of shops, a hardware shop, and on the other corner is this little nursery. And it just seems to be a few people. Who is it? Okay. I want to tell you that even though they didn't think they were going to be able to sell me something in case, maybe this if I really liked it enough. And they worked to try to find me some other place where I could look for what I was looking for, and gave me all kinds of hints and tips. And finally, when none of it worked out, they dug this out of the ground and potted it for me. And I brought it here, and I thought, you know, people are so kind and loving. They didn't know they were, and if they did make $1 from me, I'm surprised. But they wanted to do that. So I like to tell people things like that, because I want you to know where all these wonderful people live. They live amongst us. So, one of those wonderful things. So anyway, I took him home, and it's a him when he's ugly, by the way. These are the sheets. These are the sheets. So, anyway. And I just thought, well, what was the first major idea about this talk that I had when I first thought of it? And it was about the ongoingness of life, and what is the most important thing in life. How does life begin? We're always arguing about that, but I thought, as far as my talk was concerned, it is the seed. Without the seeds, there would have been none of this pretty toilet paper or whatever that is. Napkins. Thank you. But there has to be the seed. There has to be the seed thought before any of us will do anything with our lives, be it this or this. There had to be a seed thought, and you had to have kept that seed thought alive. So I wanted to do something about seed level. So anyway, to make a long story short, I went into, I think Fred Meyer's or somewhere, and they had all these lovely boxes with little packets of dirt or something in there, that they promised if you put a seed in each little one, it would grow a little seed, and you had a little dome and everything. It was a little indoor greenhouse, and I thought, I could do that. Okay. So I brought that home, and very soon my husband was able to explain to me that they grow. And one of those is not going to do it when you want 100 of these things to grow. So now we have a new greenhouse. I told you my husband trusts me. So anyway, it kept growing, and finally, and they kept growing faster than I wanted them to. You see, you do have to be careful what you treat for, because you might get it. And they kept growing, and I thought, well, I can't just leave them in there. So then I went out and bought all these little plastic cups that you see, okay, and it took me probably 2 hours to bore holes in the bottom of them all, you know, with needles. It smells terrible if you try to melt plastic on your gas stove. And we had just gained custody of 2 little rescue dogs, and they kept walking around the house sniffing and coughing. So I dropped the little peat cups into the little plastic cups, and what do you know, they don't fit. So I decided the only way I'm going to get this all to you is to buy another set of cups, and don't bore a hole in the bottom where all the water runs out, and put a little cotton swab in the bottom of every one, which I did. Okay, so here we are. Now, how do I get all those individual cups to church? And dollar store. Don't ever forget the dollar store. They have everything you need. Yes. And they have all these lovely colored napkins. And I thought, that's it. They even have a pack of rubber bands. Have you ever tried to make a napkin do something you wanted to do with a rubber band? So back I went to the dollar store again and got another set of cups. So what you will have here today, if you decide, what was it, to take the chance, and it all explodes, remember that program?
Yes.
Thank you. Are 2 plastic cups. One, should you choose to use it, will be useful for you. The other one will not, because it has a hole in the bottom. So anyway, all of these, and there are 4 kinds of seedlings here today. And I had to write down because after I'd done everything else, I had forgotten to tell myself which color napkin went with which flower. Okay, pink, sweet peas. Yellow, cosmos. Green or blue. What is FM?
Forget-me-not.
Thank you. Forget-me-nots. Green or blue is forget-me-nots. And the white ones with the red edge are cornflowers. So, anyway, so those are everything that are here. And the thing is this. In thinking of spirit and life and the way we live and what we do, it all depends on how much of our intent is purposeful, whether or not it will come to any kind of fruition here. And if it will, then you will reap the reward and you will see the kind of flower or vegetable or whatever you are working with come to fruition for you. And instead of being all concerned about how wrong we've done things, just think it all depends on what you believe in about yourself. No one else can believe in you for you. You have to believe in yourself for yourself. So I'm buying this one. This one's mine. Because I want to remind myself of all the times I've been critical of me. I'm critical of other people as well sometimes, but mostly it's about me. If I'd have only done this, and if I hadn't have done that, and that's how we pile up. But when this young man dug all of this stuff out of the ground, I noticed, in fact my husband noticed immediately, the richness of the soil. This soil is really rich and beautiful and dark. And that's divine life. That's divine life. That's what spirit is, God is, call it whatever you want to. That is what feeds you, nurtures you, feeds your intentions, honors your desires. It makes you what you become. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful calla lily. Nobody gets it but me. But what is going to be fun, I trust it is for you today, because you have to make so many decisions in your life. What does Easter mean for you? Who was that man that became the Christ? He was born an ordinary man, Jesus of Nazareth, or Jesus' son of Joseph. Had many titles or names. People only had one name in those days. Okay? He did not become the Christ the day he was born. He became the Christ when he was baptized, became a man, came into his full understanding of himself and his God and everything else. So that was the man that was crucified. So what do you believe about that? Do you believe he died that day for all of our sins? We're all forgiven for all of that, you know. That's okay, I can take my shirt off. It's clean. He died for me, I'm done, I can start over again. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I have to think for myself now. As Saul said, when I was a young boy, I thought as a child. But now that I'm a man, I have to think as a man. I have to take responsibility now for what I think, now for what I want to be. What do you want to become? What do you want to grow? Do you want to be a rose? Do you want to be one of these other things? That's not as important as understanding that it is your seed that is turning that into whatever it is that it becomes. You don't expect to plant tomatoes and get potatoes instead, I hope. Anyway. Oh, I just thought of something. I wanted recognition. Oh, thank you. I just realized that for all of my belief about what I can do, I cannot do that without the soil, without divine mind, without God, whatever it is you think it is you live your life with or as. There is always that divinity that is sometimes hard for people to accept as the extra power. A lot of people can't believe in God because of that. And God is just a word. Don't worry about that. But there is this power in which we all live and move and breathe and have our being. And it is our honoring of that that I think is the important thing for Easter. Even though people saw the death of Jesus as a terrible tragedy, I want you to look. Now, I don't know how many seeds there are here. These little packets, by the way, don't be fooled by these little packets. Okay. Have you any idea how hard it is to count cornflower seeds? There's a quarter of an inch in the bottom of the pack. The pack is this big, and there's a quarter of an inch in the bottom of the pack. But look what has happened to the religion that came about as a result of what Jesus taught. You know, he never knew that that was a religion. He never taught it as a religion. He taught it as a way of living us. And what I look at here, which I've struggled with for a while, because your religion was different than mine, or some of you, was that I had to change what I believed religion was about. Religion is not what I have read about anybody or any of those things out there. Religion is how I act my thinking. How do I act my thinking? How grateful am I that I did not actually kill my children? I remember telling one of my congregations many, many years ago how I chased my oldest son around the backyard with a broomstick, explaining to them that I could have taught him the lesson much better if I could have caught him. So the intent, the color of your seeds will become the color of your plant. The shape, the size, the beauty. And even this, even though I didn't think this was beautiful, I think it is so beautiful now. I cannot wait for it to express its beauty to me in greater ways. So here it is for you. I'm offering you this morning an opportunity to take home a plant, or more than one if you wish. And I would like for you not to say, oh, I'm not a plant person, please give it to somebody else. Do it yourself. I know. I mean, I get sick of people who say, oh, could you do that for me? I don't really do that. I don't know. Okay. So I would like for you to, and you can choose because I gave you the names of the plants. Sally will do that for me. Yes, she will. She will. She will tell you the names of the plants again. But here's the thing. It is not necessary for you to take a plant home if you don't like doing that kind of thing. When did you last do something really cute and wonderful and lovely for somebody else that you've never done before? Could you go knock on a stranger's door and say, I was just in church this morning and this crazy woman gave me this plant and said you'd like to have it? Could you do that? How about somebody that's, you know, in the hospital? We've got it, I don't know where he is now, John is, but he's in the hospital somewhere, and I know we probably can't get to him. But how many people do you think there might be in the hospital bed today who would just be so thrilled to have a little plant to put on their windowsill while they're getting better and to encourage it with their thinking as they get better, as they give its love? Anything you can do. A child that is learning in school to learn where these things, what tiny little tiny seed, and grows a beautiful plant, and all of those things. So I challenge each and every one of you today, if this is not for yourself, which it can be, and please, on your way home today, think of someone else you'd like to pass the love to. This is a love lesson. I think I better stop, my time is out. I love you all.
Mm.